Hi everyone, welcome to the Won't Shut Up podcast. I'm Megan and I hate this time of year. Not because of the beautiful fall foliage or the comfortable oversized sweaters and gorgeous boots, but because it gets dark at 4 fucking p.m. I hate when we fall forward, and I truly think we need to spring back all year long. So this episode is my filibuster for this change because I won't shut up about daylight saving time and how stupid it is that we are still fucking with the clocks. Before we get into things, thank you for listening to the Won't Shut Up podcast. You can find written pieces on the blog, won'tshutup.com. You can find Won't Shut Up on Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest at won'tshutup_. There's also a Won't Shut Up YouTube channel that I'm promising to be a little bit more active on. I promise. I also want to put a little disclaimer in the beginning of this podcast episode that I changed my recording system and setup, so I apologize if the audio is a bit off. My audio is never great, I'll admit it, but I'm trying to make it better, and this is kind of the process of trying to make it better. So if I did the opposite of making it better and it sounds worse, I do apologize. Maybe listen to my previous episodes and let me know if that audio sounds better or worse than this, and then I'll go based on that. Anyway, let's get into this episode. Standard time in time zones started in the United States and Canada in the 1800s to help railroad companies and reduce the likelihood of trains crashing due to time differences. Before this, there were over 144 local time zones in North America. Trains were literally crashing into each other because of the different time zones, and they had no idea what time other trains were coming into the same area because the time shifted, and they were literally crashing into one another. There's speculation on who had the idea of daylight savings first. Some have said Benjamin Franklin started the practice back in 1784 when he wrote a satirical essay for the Journal de Paris proposing regulations to ensure early risers. That cracked me up because that's so me. I'm sorry. I am up and ready to play early in the morning, and I always get so frustrated when I make plans with other people and they're like, so like 2 o'clock? 1 o'clock? And I'm like, 1 o'clock? 1 o'clock in the afternoon? It just makes me so upset, like having to wait for other people to get up. By noon, my day is practically over. So I hear you, Mr. Franklin. I am with ya. However, the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia is not with Mr. Franklin. They actually dispute this claim and believe George Hudson, a New Zealand entomologist, is the reason for the season. In 1895, Hudson proposed a 2-hour rollback on clocks because he wanted more daylight to collect insects. He said, come on guys, give me a couple more hours to get my bugs. Please? Just a couple more hours. I just want to get all the bugs and study them and let you know what they are. Others say British builder William Willett, or Willet, is to blame for daylight saving. He was actually a big promoter and advocate for British summertime. And in 1907, he wrote a pamphlet called The Waste of Daylight, which encouraged advancing clocks in the spring so people could get out of bed earlier. Longer and lighter days were supposed to save energy, reduce traffic accidents, and help people become more active. He was like, come on, everybody, get out of bed. Get out of bed and hang out with me. Come on, guys, start your day. The changing of the clocks really began in 1916 when Germany became the first country to observe daylight saving time to conserve fuel. The U.S. Embassy in Berlin sent a dispatch on April 8th to Washington, D.C. to let them know about this clock change initiative. The text said, quote, in order directing a change in the clocks to add an hour of daylight to the day during the months of May through September had been made. It also noted in the dispatch that Germany believed that this clock change would save $23.8 million by limiting the use of artificial light. This is almost $700 million in today's standards. Other European countries followed Germany's lead, and it became official in the US in 1918 with the passage of the Standard Time Act of 1918. At that time, the Interstate Commerce Commission, which regulated the railroads, was put in charge of time zones. Like I said, all those trains were crashing into each other. Finally, they had standard time and they were like, all right, we got to figure this shit out. Like Germany and other European countries, the agency implemented daylight saving time to help conserve fuel and power during World War I. The idea was that shifting time to get more daylight hours would reduce the need for lighting and just save a whole bunch of power, I guess. It's so funny because back in the day, they were like, lighting is the thing that takes the most power out of every home. But now I'm like, if all the lights were off in the house, I'm still thinking of all the televisions, all of the computers, all of the like internet routers. Like, there's so much energy in each household that I'm like, what about literally everything else? In 1919, Congress repealed daylight saving time over the veto of former President Woodrow Wilson. It then became a local matter, but it was re-established nationally in early World War II and was continuously observed from February 1942 to September 1945. When the Department of Transportation was created, it established the current version of daylight saving time with the passage of the Uniform Time Act of 1966. The Uniform Time Act solidified that daylight saving time begins on the last Sunday in April and ends on the last Sunday in October, with the changeover to occur at 2 a.m. local time. But during the energy crisis years in the US, Congress enacted earlier starting dates for daylight saving time. In 1974, it began on January 6th. In 1975, it began on February 23rd. After those 2 years, the starting date reverted to the last Sunday in April. In 1986, a law was passed that shifted the starting date of daylight saving time to the first Sunday in April, beginning in 1987. The ending date of daylight saving time remained the last Sunday in October, despite all the changes to the start of it, until the Energy Policy Act of 2005, which changed both the starting and ending dates. As of 2007, daylight saving time starts on the second Sunday in March and ends on the first Sunday in November. But not all places in the United States observe this time change. Hawaii and most of Arizona observe standard time only. The U.S. territories of American Samoa, Guam, the Northern Mariana Islands, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands observe permanent standard time. Countries in the Northern Hemisphere, including North America, Central America, Europe, Asia, and Northern Africa, use daylight saving time in the summertime. Most of these, but not all. Daylight saving time usually starts in March or April and ends in September to November, when the countries reverse to standard time or winter time. In the Southern Hemisphere, the countries that use daylight saving time, like Australia, New Zealand, Southern Africa, and most of South America, usually start daylight saving time by November and it ends in April. So it's flipped. What show did I watch? Heartbreak High is Australian, and at the beginning of one of the seasons, they're back from holiday, and it's because their summer break, like break from school, is over like Christmas and New Year's, like that holiday. So they're off from school. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how it is. It's like it's flipped. So they're like, "I was your holiday," unless they were just talking about a vacation, but I'm pretty sure that's what it. Now I'm gonna look it up because I don't want to feel dumb. When are schools off in Australia? Summer break, December and January. Oh my God. Wow. Oh, because the school year in Australia typically runs from late January or early February to December. We aren't just changing the clocks for no reason, I guess. The main goal of daylight saving time is to have longer, sunnier days. Now, the amount of daylight that an area gets differs based on its location. Northern cities tend to have more dark days or days with less than 10 hours of sunlight in a year. I'm in Jersey. and that makes me want to actually scream. A city's location within a time zone matters too. The farther west a city is in a time zone, the later its sunrises and sunsets will be. Experts have been trying to figure out if changing the clocks does anything to anyone for decades. In 1974, the Department of Transportation conducted a study and found no conclusive difference in energy usage, crime, travel times, or work during the time shift. But more recent studies have shown differences during daylight saving time. For example, a 2008 study, I know 2008 is not very recent, but more recent than 1974. This study from the Energy Department showed energy consumption dropped 0.02% due to daylight saving time. The study also showed no measurable impact on vehicle gas consumption. But I am not here to talk about energy and travel times. I'm here to talk about people. I won't shut up about what daylight savings does to people and why it should be banished from society, because the time shift does impact our physical and mental health. For example, all mammals function with a circadian rhythm, the 24-hour internal clock in our brain that regulates cycles of alertness and sleepiness, responding to light changes in our environment. Circadian clocks regulate metabolisms in many systems and organs, including the heart, skeletal muscle, liver, and fatty tissue. The hour transition in the spring initially causes darker mornings and lighter evenings. This may seem insignificant, however, sleep disruptions can lead to serious physical and mental health issues. The American Heart Association has reported that people experience an increase in heart attacks and strokes every year in the days following the time change. According to a study of hospital admissions across Michigan, there was a 24% increase in heart attacks on the Monday following the switch to daylight saving time. I should note that other research documents have found that in general, more severe heart attacks occur on Mondays than on any other day of the week. So it's kind of just already a case in the Mondays, I guess. Sorry. That's a bad joke. An explanation for heart attacks correlating to the time change is that the change impacts sleep quality, which is directly related to heart health. For example, a study published in the Journal of the American Heart Association found that variations in sleep duration of more than 2 hours a night within the same week were tied to developing, this is a hard word for me to pronounce, atherosclerosis. I did it before and I already forgot about it. Should have been practicing. Let me just get her to say it. Hold on. Atherosclerosis. That's what it is. Which is the buildup of fats, cholesterol, and other substances in and on the artery walls. This can lead to life-threatening health concerns like blood clots. A 2020 study published in Current Biology examined 700,000 motor vehicle accidents over 20 years and found that the annual switch to daylight saving time is associated with a 6% increase in fatal car crashes during the work week following the time change. The study also showed changes in accident patterns after the fallback time change, with a decline in morning accidents and a spike in the evening when the darkness comes sooner. Not just because people can't see, but because people are tired. Due to the direct effect on sleep, daylight saving time can worsen disorders such as anxiety, depression, and seasonal affective disorder. The shorter, darker days at the end of daylight saving time can significantly affect someone's mood. I know this because I'm speaking from experience. I personally suffer from seasonal affective disorder, especially since I am naturally extremely vitamin D deficient. Shorter, darker days means even less vitamin D and even more anxiety for me, and it's just terrible. Seasonal affective disorder often shows up as feelings of sadness, low energy, irritability, trouble concentrating, and changes in sleep and eating habits. These symptoms can vary. I am going to say that once again. These symptoms can vary, and they can vary in intensity. My symptoms show up in lack of motivation, no energy at all, and then being upset and feeling guilty that I have no motivation or energy at all. And it is just an endless cycle of feeling sorry for myself. And it's horrible. It's terrible. I'm telling you, it makes you feel really bad. But you have to recognize when you are feeling bad. And I'll dive into that a little bit later, but I'm just want to make it known that symptoms can vary in intensity. So if you are feeling any type of sadness or low energy, irritability, any type of changes in your personality, maybe that is to blame. And I would suggest reaching out, especially to many professionals are very equipped to talk about seasonal affective disorder. So if you have the ability to reach out, I recommend you do so, or even just talk to your friends or go to your physician and ask them to get a blood test, because that's how I found out I was so significantly vitamin D deficient. But like I said, more on that later. So if this time change affects everyone, are we going to do anything about it? Well, it seems like something may be done. Maybe. Probably not. In March 2022, the U.S. Senate unanimously approved the Sunshine Protection Act, which love that name, which would have made daylight saving time permanent as of November 2023 if approved by the House and signed by President Biden. There was a delay, which meant to give airlines and other transportation providers time to adjust to the change as they set schedules months and even years ahead of time. However, no action was taken by the U.S. House of Representatives to advance the bill, rendering it dead. This doesn't just come out of nowhere. State legislatures have considered over 700 bills and resolutions in recent years to establish either standard time or year-round daylight saving time as soon as federal law allows it. Since 2015, virtually every state has considered multiple time zone bills, but none of significance passed until 2018, when Florida became the first state to enact legislation to permanently observe daylight saving time if the federal law changes and allows for that to happen. There are 20 states that have enacted legislation or passed resolutions to establish a year-round daylight saving time if approved by Congress. These states are Oklahoma, Colorado, Kentucky, Alabama, Georgia, Minnesota, Mississippi, Montana, Idaho, Louisiana, Ohio, South Carolina, Utah, Wyoming, Delaware, Maine, Oregon. I say Oregon, but Oregon? Let me know. Tennessee, Washington, and Florida. Because federal law does not currently allow full-time daylight saving time, Congress has to make that change before these states can. Now that I have given a bit of information on what it does to people and what could possibly be done about it, I just want to share a quick pro and cons list for whether or not we should keep daylight saving time. I will note this is not my list. I actually found this on, you guessed it, procon.org, but I just wanted to give 3 bullet points for each so that there are solid takeaways that are just easy to grasp, reiterating my point because I just threw a lot of information at you. So here are the pros. First off, it promotes safety. Longer daylight hours make driving safer, lowers car accident rates, and lowers the risk of pedestrians being hit by a car. Economists Jennifer Dulac and Nicholas Sanders found that robberies drop about 7% overall and 27% in the evening hours after the spring time change. Also, daylight in the evening makes it safer for joggers, people walking dogs after work, and children playing outside because drivers are able to see people more easily. Makes it so much safer because you can see everybody. It's good for the economy. Later daylight means more people shopping after work, increasing retail sales, and more people driving, increasing gas and snacky sales, which that cracked me up that was in the statistic. They were like, people love to drive around and snack. We know Americans. We know the good people of US of A. They love to drive and they love to snack. The golf industry reports that 1 month of daylight saving time was worth $200 to $400 million because of the extended evening hours golfers can play. The barbecue industry estimates their profits increase $100 million for 1 month during daylight saving time. Finally, it promotes active lifestyles. When the day is lighter later, people tend to participate in more outdoor activities after work. Doi. Hendrik Wolf, an associate professor of economics at Simon Fraser University, states because of daylight saving time, people are engaged in more outdoor recreation and less indoor TV watching. An additional 3% of people are engaged in outdoor behaviors who otherwise would have stayed indoors. And these are like even little things like deciding to read your book outside instead of inside, or like drinking your morning coffee on like the front porch or the back deck, or like literally opening a window and poking your head out like a freaking cat. And here are the cons. Like I said, daylight saving time is bad for your health. Changing sleep patterns, even by 1 hour, goes against a person's natural circadian rhythm and has negative consequences for health. In the weeks following the spring change, male suicide rates rose in Australia compared to the weeks following the return to standard time in the fall. And daylight saving time increases the risk that car accidents will be fatal by over 5% because people are tired while driving. Daylight saving time drops productivity. The Monday after the spring change is called Sleepy Monday because it is one of the most sleep-deprived days of the year. It's also expensive. According to the Lost Hour Economic Index, moving the clocks forward has a total cost to the US economy of $434 million nationally, factoring in health issues, decreased productivity, and workplace injuries. The Air Transport Association estimated that daylight saving time cost the airline industry $147 million in 2007, thanks to confused time schedules with countries who do not participate in the time change. So, now that our clocks in most of the Northern Hemisphere have fallen forward, how are we going to take care of ourselves? We know what the time change does to us, so we have to take some steps to cope and make this time more manageable. That's kind of why I put together this episode. All for these tips to how to survive the end of saving daylight. Because I know I freaking hate this time of year. I hate it. It's the worst. It's the worst. First off, make the most of the daylight you get. When the sun is awake, you should be awake, outside and photosynthesizing. Find a window and lay in the sun if it's too cold or you're too busy to go outside. Be a cat, a widow wazy cat sitting in a windowsill just photosynthesizing. Be Alana from Broad City and buy a sun lamp for when the darkness lasts throughout the day. God, I hate those cloudy, cold winter days, but that's what the sun lamps are for. Also, like I mentioned before, vitamin D supplements are your best friend. They are worth the investment. I have been taking supplements since I had blood work done back in August that revealed I was drastically deficient and needed lots and lots of vitamin D. But just taking the supplements over the past few months, I've noticed such a change. I'm more energized and way less irritable, and it's so worth it. Try to maintain a regular daily routine as much as possible. Consistent meal times or supplement taking, exercise, and sleep patterns will help keep your internal clock in check and improve your mood. The next word of advice is to get physical. Yeah, get physical. Whether it's going for a walk or doing the newest, trendiest exercise, just get your body moving. Maybe even dance around for a few minutes every morning. This is embarrassing, but I have gotten pretty vulnerable this episode, so I guess I'll just keep going on that, and I'll let you know that I have incorporated dancing to one song into my morning workout routine. It's not a full-on performance. I'm just like moving my feet and my arms a bit more than I normally would. But this makes me feel so silly and happy and energized. All those feelings make me more motivated and I get more stuff done. But it's not about getting stuff done. You need to make sure you stay connected. I live in Jersey and it gets cold as an elf's balls, making me not want to do anything ever, but that's not good. People need people. You need human connection, even if it's just ordering coffee at a coffee shop instead of door dashing it. Being connected to others will make it easier to ask for help when you need it. Maybe not from the person at the coffee shop, but you may find that many of your friends or family members feel the same way you're feeling because it's so common. Even just saying, oh my God, I really hate these short days. They suck. God. And you might literally have somebody start a whole freaking monologue about how they hate the shorter days too because they feel so tired, but meanwhile they've gotten nothing done all day. And then boom, you're like, oh, I feel the same way, girl. It's all about connection. All about connection. And talking about your feelings. Which brings me to my last point of writing down how you feel. I urge everyone to keep a journal and make a specific winter notebook where you write all your thoughts and feelings down so you can keep track of them. Giving words to how you feel makes those feelings less extreme. Once they are written down, you can go back and see how you were feeling at a certain point and how you change things so you no longer feel that way. I gotta tell you, reading back your journal is really embarrassing. I've been keeping a journal since I could literally write my name. I used to actually write my name over and over again in my journals. I'm a Leo. What can I say? But you go back and you're actually so embarrassed that you felt that way or you reacted that way because you look back and you go, oh, should have just done this, or should have. It's like when you're in the shower and you're like going over the argument in your head and you come up with the best comeback. You write something down as you're feeling it, and then 2 seconds later, once you've processed those emotions through writing them, you literally go, wait, why do I feel that way? Oh, because I can flip through 10 pages ago when I complained about this thing, which has a direct correlation to the thing that I'm complaining about now. Funny how that works. Funny how I can keep track of my feelings and my emotions because I have this handy dandy little journal and notebook. Funny how that works. And I know it's hard for people to write stuff. This is coming from someone who literally, I get paid to write. I love writing. It's my thing. Literally got a degree in it. But it's just the best thing you could do is just have a little journal. And even if it's just 2 sentences being like, ugh, got a tummy ache today. Don't know what's going on. And then like 5 days later, you write again that you got a tummy ache and you don't know why. And then again, you write you have a tummy ache and you don't know why. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, these 3 days in a row or a few days in a row, I was getting tummy aches. What was going on that week? And then you're like, oh, I had that project due. I had that project due at the end of the week, and I had 3 tummy aches that week. Oh my God, my tummy aches are from my project. That's the power of a journal. Okay, I don't know why I just became the journal's biggest fucking advocate in the end of my episode, but I think that's literally my biggest advice I can give to people. Just keep a goddamn journal because it really makes you feel better. So, while we may not be able to do anything about the time changing, we can do something about how we react to it. Once again, this is your reminder to keep a journal. Keep a journal or I will haunt you. Just kidding. This is just your reminder to take care of yourself. Focus on how you feel and figure out a plan to change any negative feelings that come from the long, dark winter days, but also recognize when those feelings might be out of your control. Seasonal affective disorder is very real, and like I said before, symptoms vary in intensity. So you might all of a sudden just be feeling drained when you got a good amount of sleep and you don't know why all of a sudden you're feeling more fatigued than usual. Could be that. So be sure to focus on how you feel and talk to others about how you feel. Don't just write your feelings in a journal. As much as I think my journal saves me from everything, it's just paper. I really hate this time of year, but for those in the Northern Hemisphere, we have a whole lot of holidays, the Super Bowl, and other random events coming up that will hopefully make the time go quicker. That's what my dad always says. He's like, once the holidays done, we got the Super Bowl, Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, and I'm like, but it's still dark at 4 p.m. It's still so dark. Oh, tragic, but I'll go write in my journal about how much I hate fucking daylight saving time ending. For now, I will shut up about daylight saving time. Check out the blog and social media accounts linked below. Rate, review, comment, follow. Let me know what you won't shut up about. Thank you for listening to me. Never shutting up. Bye!